regard the theater as the greatest of all art forms, the most intimate way in which a human being can share with another the sense of what it is to be a human being. Of course, I could take you back to the BC times when theater sprouted from rituals and myths, but I'll spare you the boredom, and with the help of my fellow thespians, I will guide you through the past, present, and future of my art.
Fast forward to the 1880s when live theater made its big debut with Shakespeare, French operas, and Victorian burlesque.
In 1917, Playwright was greatly influenced by the hardships of World War I. This was the first time that live theater was relatable to its era.
This was followed by the 1920s with the introduction of black actors on the Broadway stage, which paralleled black actors to white actors, followed on by the Civil Rights Movement.
In the 1950s, Broadway musicals were a huge part of American culture. With a booming economy and creative new talents, the Rodgers and Hammerstein era brought on new hits such as Oklahoma, South Pacific, and Carousel. But the real golden age was in the 1960s, when the Fantastics ran for over 40 years, becoming the longest-running musical in history. It became common to write shows that aimed to normalize societal toleration of minorities and urged racial harmony.
Change in the 1970s and 80s when the idea of rock musicals arose after the success of Hair. Pop culture shows such as the Rocky Horror Show in Chicago made it big. Following were mega musicals and pop operas such as Phantom of the Opera. Shows were given multi-million budgets for the first time, allowing for bigger, better, and longer runs of productions. Inside my When the 1990s arrived, audiences wanted more, so big companies started to have influence on shows, such as Walt Disney, leading to big hits such as Mary Poppins and Cinderella. But as we've seen more recently, controversial comedies have come into play, such as Avenue Q and The Book of Mormon, as well as playoffs of films or revivals of the classics, including Legally Blonde and Footloose.
In 2020, live theater lost support. Therefore, a majority of Broadway actors were hired celebrities, not Broadway stars. This was a way to bring on publicity and money. Since Broadway was in the hotspot, in 2025, shows that made fun of religion and race were banned.
In 2030, there was a lack of comedy, and the phenomenon of Avenue Q led to multiple new shows with puppet actors. Audiences were tired of seeing only people on stage and realized the talent it took to put on shows with puppets.
Unfortunately, in 2032, Matilda made its final run on the big stage after running for nearly 20 years. Adults felt like young performers were being exposed to the dangerous world of theater too young, causing an increase in eating disorders shown by a study performed by the American Eating Disorder Foundation.
Luckily, 2038 came with a boom in the economy, which led for many young playwrights around the world to write productions off-Broadway. TV and film became less of an attraction, causing for citizens to have an interest in seeing live theater.
Eventually, controversial shows made a comeback in 2041 after fighting lawsuits for nearly 20 years.
After all this, the world lost interest in live theater by 2050, and by the year 2054, the only live show running on Broadway was Hairspray, which only stayed alive because of the profit they made starting in the late 1990s. Public schooling no longer offered performing arts, and eventually young performers disappeared.
Actors will pour everything they have into being the best performers they can be, good and bad.
We know how fragile this industry can be.
Not everyone agrees with what we do and how we do it, but we still love it. That's what theater is. It's love.
Loving what you're doing and loving the hard work and dedication that goes to put on a masterpiece.
Not everyone can appreciate theater in the way we do, but those who do understand know that we do it because this is what we love.